Welcome back for another episode of Transform Your Workplace. I've got my colleague, Shastina Young, who I've worked with for, Shastina, it's been like 10 years or more. I
Oh,
don't even know.
more. Yeah.
More.
Like
Yeah, time flies by when you work
almost
with the same
almost
company
11.
forever.
Yeah.
11. Awesome. You've been on my team. We've worked closely together. This is the first time we're doing a podcast, though. So I'm excited to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Xenium, we've always, with our clients, we're supporting small and mid-sized organizations. Often they'll come and ask us, like, strategies on certain areas of the workplace. Equity, diversity, inclusion has been one of those things. And we've never necessarily been experts. We've always leaned on partners for it.
Yeah.
We understand the importance of it. I know for you, it's a value of yours. It's a value inside of our whole organization. But if you could
Mhm.
just speak from your own point of view, or even from our organization's point of view, what is the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion in your opinion?
Yeah. So, gosh, that's a great question. For myself as a woman of color, it's always been important to me and part of who I am. I'm also a sociology major, so always been very intrigued and curious about people and behaviors. And so the importance of just understanding human nature, but also the construct of race and how it impacts our world has always been really important to me. So having the opportunity to be a part of an organization where it is a value and it's part of our mission to have an ongoing commitment to equity, inclusion, diversity, and belonging here at the workplace has been one of the inherent reasons why I've been with Xenium as long as I have. Excited to talk more about the exciting things that we're doing
Yeah,
as a committee and
I
such.
definitely want to get into the details of what we're doing. But if you could look at most organizations,
Yeah.
and if I don't know what time frame organizations really started talking about equity, diversity, inclusion in terms of a strategy of why
Mhm.
it's good for business. Maybe give me some historical, from your point of view, like when this really started becoming a strategy for organizations and what you've heard organizations doing. I've heard over the years, especially pre-pandemic time, is it seemed like most organizations were doing check the box sort of equity, diversity, inclusion strategies. It
Mhm.
was a one training per year, and then there was not really a lot of follow-up. Did you see that as well, and where is this sort of evolving for most organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can only speak for my experience with Xenium and what kind of evolved from my lens. But as a client development manager, so I'm in sales, I'm oftentimes core to my job is working with business owners and those in the C-suite in regards to what they're doing today as it relates to their people practices and processes. And a lot of that also includes talking about what are their values, but also what are their practices around EIDB. And pre-pandemic, I would agree. A lot of what I heard was either crickets, so nothing at all, or they were in their beginning stages or perhaps a little further along. For compared to today, I think there's um, a lot more businesses, small, medium to large, who are focusing on just the importance of these core values. And number one reason being is that employees, people that work for them, from your all team to leadership, they have a big stock in how are you going to transform our workplace and create a workplace that is where belonging is important. For Xenium specifically, our president, Ann Donovan, and our Susie Ware, who's at the time was our VP of Learning and Development, really championed EIDB practices. So our journey really started in 2018. by partnering with several consultants to work on conducting really an assessment of what we've done to date, as well as opportunities or gaps of what we could do moving forward, to also conducting important training sessions around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So our journey really started then. And then through just additional leadership from Anne, who continues today to be on our committee and who I really admire for that, we've really come a long way. But I don't think we could have done the work that we're doing today without leadership buy-in and participation as well. So,
What I always think about, like, our organization is, like, when we're supporting small, medium-sized organizations, and they're looking to us for people strategies, and if we're not walking the talk on this stuff, and we know employees want this, it's a core value of ours. The fact that we support other companies that are also looking to implement these strategies, we need to know what it's like to build a program and a strategy inside of an organization. Do you think that gives us a leg up in consulting with organizations who are trying to do the same thing?
absolutely. And I have to say that around 2018, 2019, a lot of what Xenium does, like the continued evolution of the services that we provide to our clients, is largely due in part to clients that we eventually, or organizations, I should say, that eventually become clients. And so
Right.
around that time, we had about a handful of new clients that came on board that really pushed us to take a look at this and identify for us that this is important and what we have done to date is good, but we can do better. And
Yeah.
that it's an ongoing commitment to the work.
I think where these strategies can sometimes fall or fail, or just get left behind is we talk about the why behind it and the importance of it. I think a lot of people understand the, like, the business reason for it, attracting talent, making people feel part of something, included, a sense of belonging, more connected than ever. But the how is the hardest part.
Mhm.
And we are where we started and where we are now. It's a complete journey, but we've really worked on the how. You've been instrumental in that, and I want to talk about how we now have an equity team. I don't know if it was called that before. It's now called the equity team. Talk about the genesis of that. Like, how was that formed? Because I know we did start with a lot of different trainings with external consultants, but then we wanted to do
Mhm.
the work internally with our own people. Talk about how that was formed.
Yeah. So it was really formed again by bringing in a, a consultant who was really knowledgeable about equity, inclusion, diversity, and belonging. We understand as an organization that we didn't have all the answers. And so, really wanted to reach out to someone outside of our four walls for that knowledge, as well as that neutral third party perspective, right? A true assessment of what we're doing well and again, what are some opportunities or gaps for us to improve upon. And our first meeting was actually on in April of 2019 as a committee. I know it's crazy. So about eight to 10 people or so at that time. And through the consultant, we had created a mission as well as what I would say are pillars or values to our EIDB program or initiatives. And really from that, we were able to hone in on or focus in on those four pillars specifically. So that's really how the committee started, when it started, and has really been the foundation of the work that we do today.
How has that committee evolved over time? Some logistics I'm sure people want to listen to, meeting cadence, agenda, any sort of structural things I think would be helpful.
Yeah. So I had mentioned that there were four pillars. There are actually three main pillars that our committee really focuses on. There's the fourth pillar is one that our leadership our senior leadership team really focuses on. It looks at things from a high level strategic initiative about all things EIDB related, with the three pillars really supporting the work in regards to what we do internally within our four walls as well as outside. For example, one of the first pillars is invest in our people. It's a subcommittee that I'm a part of, as well with three other colleagues of mine. And our focus is really on providing learning opportunities for our internal team via uh, trainings with outside um, consultants and speakers, as well as working with our Excite team on providing events that will engage those internally with an emphasis on equity, inclusion, belonging, and diversity. And then the third piece is one that was created about 3 years ago called Zen Connects. So they're conversations that we have on a monthly basis that really offers frequent and ongoing opportunities to learn and even just listen if they want to. And then our second pillar is look beyond our four walls. So it's a committee of about 4 employees who are focused on reaching outside to external partnerships with, say, organizations like Partners in Diversity, as well as working in collaboration with clients that we serve that work with underestimated communities, promoting their events, participating in volunteerism, as well as also using our marketing and our brands to promote their events
Elevate them,
as
yeah.
well and elevate them. Yeah. And then our last pillar and third committee is really focused on cultural belonging and career support. So it's a focus on really cultivating a workplace that's going to reflect the communities that we serve and that we live in. We really believe that representation matters. And just like many other organizations, we want to ensure that we have teammates with different perspectives and give us the elevated opportunity to just be that much better and stronger when you're being challenged, as well as just bringing a lot of different people together.
What I love about these pillars and the subcommittees that you eventually broke the entire team into is
Mhm.
that you created mission statements for each, and then there's
Right.
actions behind each of those. So you have the overall like purpose and mission, why are we doing what we're doing, and then you have action items around how we're going to achieve that. And you can, and people listening, they can go to our website and see we have a page dedicated to this and see what we're doing. But I love that because I think for most organizations, it's lip service to a certain extent. Like it's a maybe it's a value of theirs, but they don't have action behind it. They haven't stated their goals and what they're going to be doing. And it's very
Right.
spelled out within these committees. And I think there's a lot of ownership over these things too, because you have
Mhm.
not just one giant group. We do come back together as a bigger
Yes.
group, but these subcommittees, there's 3, 4, 5 people who own various tasks and initiatives within these, right? Maybe talk a little bit more about how you structured that and why you did it.
Yeah. The committee itself, it's all volunteer based, comprised of folks from various departments and really from all of the departments within our organization. So we have folks from HR, payroll, benefits, operations, sales and marketing. You and I were both on the committees as well. And when you join the committee, you are asked to also um, join one of the subcommittees. And it's really up to them on which committee they like to join. And oftentimes it's that their decision point is based on what they're passionate about. And what's awesome is that as a result of that, like you said, each committee has really flourished and it shows. Most when I look at the results of that, which like you said, it's really important that it's not just lip service. It's, for example, the Cultural Belonging and Career Support Committee, yourself, Bridget, for example, is our internal HR business partner. Sarah's our internal recruiter. And Nay, who's one of our HR business partners who worked at Portland Public Schools, who really focused at that time, I believe, on the recruiting and new hire side of that organization, has really brought some great ideas about how we can make improvements to our EIDB page, but our website just overall. Most recently, we conducted a partner spotlight in the Partners in Diversity monthly newsletter. And so with your expertise from the marketing side, it's awesome. It was great. That's just one example of that. Zen Connects is another example from our Invest in Our People committee and the volunteer work that Anne, Gabrielle, and Emily um, do, and is just amazing as well. So one of the highlights from the volunteer work that we've done is we've really focused on the hours of volunteer work that our team overall does using a technology called Field Day. And that was through a strategic partnership with them to, one, be able to calculate and document that time for those within our organization to do great work in the communities that, again, we live and serve in.
I wanted to share a little story from my vantage point. I saw
Yeah.
this work that the team was doing, and I think it was Nay. She she called a meeting to discuss our website and just representation, enhancing our equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging page.
Yeah.
And I joined that because I'm the marketing leader and I'm going to make any website edits that we would make to it. So I wanted to be a part of that and be a part of that discussion. And
Yeah.
the energy that was in that room, just talking about, oh, we should say like these words and have these kinds of pictures. I'm like, I have got to be a part of this. Like I was on the outside looking in, and I just loved the collaboration that I was witnessing.
Yeah.
And then I obviously saw all the other things around the peripherals, like volunteering and career fairs and being out in the community, partnerships, recruiting, all of those things. And I was like, I have to be a part of this. And so I think I joined like, what, 6, 8 months ago. And
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of great ideas floating around. And what I appreciate is the action that's happening. Like, a lot of organizations will talk about it. Very little will probably do as much as we've done. But I wanted to highlight this and highlight the work that you are doing. You're really leading this whole entire team, is that other organizations could easily follow this method. It is an investment. There's no doubt about it. But if it's important to you as an organization, you will dedicate the resources. And it's not a huge time commitment either. I don't know how much time you spend, but you're talking 2, 3 hours a month, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And I guess if you're out in the community a little bit more, volunteering maybe a little bit more, but that's a small price to pay for creating a great workplace culture and impacting your community in a great way. Don't you think?
I agree. Yes, I agree. And you're right. It's that energy, it's that passion. And that's what's been so great about the work that we've done. And while, yes, I am the leader, the chair of our committee, really the work is done by each individual that's on each committee. It's really a soft kind of uh, recipe, I would say, that's really worked well. You hear of other organizations that have a lot of structure around their committee, but our committee has really been organic, and each each subcommittee as a result has really taken ownership and created really the initiatives around how are we going to create cultural belonging and career support in our organization. Really a passionate energy around that comes from the committee members
Yeah.
within that group. And as a result, it's just been really exciting, really cool to see too.
When I first asked you to come on this podcast, what I really wanted to talk about was Zen Connects. We needed to holistically talk about our strategies inside Xenium and just the why behind these strategies in the first place. But I
Sure.
want to talk a little bit more about Zen Connects because this is
Right.
such an interesting idea and something that we do monthly. And it's one of those more like accessible things, like volunteering is accessible, and some of the other strategies that the team is doing is behind the scenes for the most part, but Zen Connects is something that everybody can be a part of, and I think when we talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging practices, starting
Yeah.
with a level of understanding of other backgrounds is baseline. Like, we need to educate ourselves on other people so we can really start to understand how we can work better together and connect deeper and just have more empathy for each other and connection.
Yeah.
How did this idea come about? Like the Zen Connects idea, such a genius idea. Talk about the structure of it and anything you want to share.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I'm on our Invest in Our People subcommittee, and really our mission is to create opportunities to learn. And I, having all company training workshops is you have those, we have offer them on a quarterly basis. And then as an company, we have anywhere from 1 to 2 trainings a year that we participate in. But I really wanted to create something that was more frequent. It was ongoing and just a little more relaxed or informal, so to speak, that folks could participate in as based on interest in the topic that we were going to have or because time really allowed or they were passionate about just the ongoing opportunities to learn and listen. And so that's really how it was born. The purpose of Zen Connects, so again, it's a spin on Xenium, so it's Zen Connects, right? Is to share perspectives and learn from each other on different topics related to equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And it may impact the work that we do as HR professionals and the work that we do for clients that we serve. But a lot of it too is just learning about different things, again, related to EIDB. So it's voluntary. So important to state that it's voluntary participation. It's discussion based. And while we love to hear from our teammates who attend, it's also okay for them to just come to listen and to learn.
How do you structure it? It's monthly, I know that.
Yeah. So we meet the third Friday of every month for 30 minutes just before lunchtime. And because we have teammates across the United States, they're held virtually. But this also allows us to hold small group breakouts. So opportunities to have 2 to 3 to 4 individuals from various departments get together and discuss the topic that we're focused on for that month.
What
So,
kind of topics have you covered? I
yeah.
know I've been a part of a bunch of them, but I'm sure there's a bunch of topics that you've covered.
Yeah. So, how we get to those topics is as a subcommittee, we're really at the beginning of each year and about the halfway point, we plan out the first half of the year and then the second half of the year's topics with the flexibility to also make changes should we need to. One, we identify topics, and then we also break out who's doing what, so to speak, in regards to research on the topic, mm, who's creating the PowerPoint, as well as covering the tech during the 30-minute meeting, but also leading the discussion around the topic that we're talking about. So the different topics can include where we get them from is really from a variety of different areas. So we use the cultural calendar to help with that, current events, as well as industry hot topics, compensation in the HR world, compensation, pay equity, as well as burnout, things like that. Mental health come up. And so Um, we decide utilizing those various methods on the topics that we're going to cover. Some examples this February for Black Heritage Month, we highlighted Black women trailblazers like Ursula Burns. For those who aren't familiar with Ursula Burns, she was named the CEO of Xerox, becoming the first Black woman to head a Fortune 500 company. There's a topic that we covered earlier this year on the disparate impact of climate change, learned about the residents in Kiribati who are working to protect their homes from rising sea levels around their islands, focusing in on during Pride Month. We celebrate and honor the lives and history of the LGBTQIA plus community. And later this year, we'll be focused on neurodiversity in the workplace awareness month as a couple of examples for the
So
topics that we cover.
so many good topics, and I know that so much research goes into this too, because every time there's an
Mhm.
announcement that comes out, you and the team, you put together this whole list of videos and websites and PDFs to potentially prepare for the discussion if they choose to.
Yeah,
It's totally voluntary. But a lot of thought goes into that, and it's what I see from that is you can keep building on this. This is a resource library that you've now created too that just doesn't die with that one Zen Connects discussion. You can save
correct.
that, keep building on it, and it's a resource that not only we can share internally, but with clients and even people
Mhm.
listening, if they probably want access to some of those things that you've already done
Yeah,
the work on, I'm sure you'd be willing to share it. So just I appreciate the work that you and the team are doing on this because I know a lot of work goes into that.
yeah. Thank you. Yes, the research is and the content that we provide is really important to us. And there are times where content comes up, we're like, that's just not, it's not quite hitting
Yeah.
what we want to talk about or that we want to focus on. And so we go back to the drawing board and really want it to be a balanced conversation, showing all kinds of points and bringing up new things that you don't learn about in school or hear in the news. And so just getting creative around that. And some examples of that content, like you mentioned, are videos, articles. We highlight podcasts as well as influencers using to date this century kind of methods of learning to keep people engaged and motivated about learning about these different topics. But yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And
Yeah.
so hence one of the reasons why we divide and conquer, so to speak,
Well,
how we go about
I
that.
I appreciate the work that you and the team are doing. I'm happy to be a part of it, and thanks for coming on and sharing. If you could, like, just say I know this is all a journey, right? Like, every company and person is starting at a different point with this, but if you could look into the future and see where Xenium's at and what this committee's doing, where do you see all this going?
It's an opportunity to share what we're doing with new hires as they come on board with us, but also with clients that we serve and then just those in the communities. But more importantly, we're bringing about an organization or a team where folks feel like they belong, that they're cared about, and that our clients and partners that we work with, I know that they also recognize the importance that we of the work that we do, that they have an ally and that they know that we're that much better in partnership or service with them because of our ongoing commitment to the work that we're doing.
Good stuff, Shastina. I appreciate you being just a wealth of knowledge and sharing everything that we're doing. Can people connect with you somewhere? What's the best way for people to connect?
Yeah, feel free to shoot me an email at shastina.young@xeniumhr.com or link in with me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and share ideas, talk through what you're hoping to accomplish with your organization, with your teams.
My guest today has been Shastina Young, my colleague of 11 years and friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in for today's episode of Transform Your Workplace. The content on this show is strictly for general information and educational purposes only, so that you can go transform your workplace in a positive way. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the show are the guest's own and don't represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of either Xenium HR, the sponsor of the show, or me, the host, Brandon Laws. Additionally, Xenium HR or myself, Brandon Laws, doesn't endorse any guest, their business, or any organization they represent, so discretion is advised. We encourage you to work with a trusted advisor to find a custom approach that fits your organization's needs. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode.